presentations will be done by Dr. Ajith Amarasingh. He's a consultant pediatrician. In addition to being a clinician, he has a special interest in education. That is education of school, the school children's education, not medical education. And he has written books on the subject, and he has been a member of the President's Advisory Council. Ajith can possibly tell me, Ajith, please correct, let us know what was your exact title of the books.
I was the committee member of the National Education Committee on school education for about four years.
Yes.
And also I wrote a book with 4 other consultants on the crisis of especially primary education and secondary education in Sri Lanka.
Yes. So the reason for this meeting today was specifically because there was a news item about 3-4 months ago about our education minister and the Prime Minister, Dr. Harini Amarasingh has said that she is bringing educational reforms into the country. And there was a discussion about these educational reforms in various forums, in social media, and there are some discussions on the televisions and radio about these proposed educational reforms. During that period, during that discussion, what we found very interesting is that we were not able to find any written documents about these reforms whatsoever. And after searching various forums, we found that these so-called educational reforms are only a PowerPoint slides, a list of PowerPoint slides, and there was nothing more than that. And then because of that situation, we had a discussion with Ajith at that time, and Ajith wrote an article to the Lanka e-news about the whole. Well, I think it is reasonable to say the whole saga about these educational reforms regarding what does that actually mean and what has been proposed and actually who can do what within the Sri Lankan constitution. But since then, the discussions about the Prime Minister's discussion about educational reforms has died down. But then more recently, there were some more discussions regarding because the government wanted to extend the school hours from 1:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. And again, there were some discussions about that. So because of that, we thought actually it will be very useful to ask Dr. Ajith Amarasingh to have discussions about this, the subject of educational reforms. I think Ajith is going to talk mainly about the primary education and the grade 5 scholarship. Is that correct, Ajith?
Correct, yes.
Okay, right. Okay, it's over to you, Ajith, now. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dr. Wan Soisa. And the members of the Slls for inviting me to deliver this Zoom lecture. I think this is about the 3rd or 4th lecture I'm doing at the Slls forum. Earlier 3 lectures were totally on history. That is my other interest in life. So I'm a researcher into history. I've written 2 books, research books on history. And several aspects of these books were discussed at this SLS forum earlier. So thank you for inviting me to discuss about education and education reforms. And thank you, Lalit, for that kind introduction. Lalit was my registrar, second-year registrar when I started as an intern at Late Ridge Hospital. And he the one who made me interested to do pediatrics, and I'm a pediatrician now. So thank you very much for doing that, Lalit. I never regret being a pediatrician. So then, now when it comes to educational reforms, few months back, there was a uproar about the new government bringing in new educational reforms. So what we found was that though many were talking, including the education minister, there were no document whatsoever on the proposed reforms. There was a slide PowerPoint presentation with about 40 slides on educational reforms. The last reforms that were introduced, proposed reforms that were introduced, were in 2024 October, where the then government made a position paper of about 24 pages on educational reforms, which was a very incomplete document, and I wrote 2 articles about it. Now, actually, when Ruan asked me to discuss about educational reforms, I also discussed with him and said that it is a too large topic to be discussed. So I'll discuss only one aspect of educational reforms, which revolves around the grade 5 scholarship exam. Now, whoever who thinks about making educational reforms in Sri Lanka has to think about the primary education in Sri Lanka. Primary education, I do the slide presentation now. I hope you can see this. I hope you can see this now. Can you see it?
We now put the full
Yeah.
video. That's it. Thank you.
So I will discuss about the grade 5 scholarship exam and the crisis in primary education, which is revolving around this grade 5 scholarship exam. Now, at the end of this lecture, you will understand how the gravity of the problem of grade 5 scholarship exam. But unfortunately, the last reforms, the reforms position paper that was published did not mention a single word about grade 5 scholarship exam. And when it comes to primary education, there are only few lines in that reform paper. I think most of the people who are here would have some nostalgic memories about the grade 5 scholarship exam. Now, I sat this scholarship exam in 1974. This exam was introduced to Sri Lanka in 1948. In 1942, free education was introduced, and with that, new central colleges were formed. These central colleges were schools of very high standards of secondary education, which went up to advanced level. And this was an exam mainly to select students for these central schools. And it was also linked with financial assistance given to poor students who were entering these schools. So this exam was going on for a very long period of time. But in 1970s, from 1970s, the format and the outlook of this exam began to change. I link this to the wide expansion of the middle class of Sri Lanka from the 1970s. Before that, Sri Lankan middle class was less than 20%. And from 1977 onwards, the middle class expanded to about 70 to 80%. There are many research papers in this. And I wrote 3 articles about expansion of the Sri Lankan middle class in 2023, where I said this middle class has become a huge force in Sri Lanka, and it is this middle class which has expanded over the years, which became more and more interested about this grade 5 scholarship exam. This, I feel, is due to the fact that the middle class aspirations could be met only by admitting their children to so-called privileged schools or recognized schools. Because the middle class of this country think that this is a stepping stone to the next level of social strata. So therefore, currently this exam has become an exam where the children get admitted to popular and more prestigious schools, but there is a link with some kind of financial assistance given to children who are coming from a poor financial background. So what happened is that over the years, this has become a very competitive exam where the children are coached at schools, tuition classes, homes from grade 2 onwards to achieve high scores. So it has become a very competitive exam. To pass the exam, student need to obtain only 35 marks out for each paper, that is 70 out of 200. But when it comes to getting a financial assistance or getting into a privileged or more prestigious or more popular school, one has to have a score of about 90% of the cutoff mark. So that is about 180 out of 170 to 180 out of 200 marks. So therefore, what happened is that it has become a very competitive exam. Now, this is from the cutoff mark for schools, government schools, from the grade 5 scholarship exam in the year 2024. You can see the highest mark is for Royal College, it is 172. Dharmaraja, Ananda, so goes on like that. When it comes to female colleges, Vishaka, Devi Balika, they need very high scores. So per year, about 350,000 students sit for this exam, and they are around 9 to 10 years old. As pediatricians, we became aware of this, of the burden of scholarship exam on students, which was called about 20 years back. Actually, this term was coined by Dr. H.T. Vikramasinghe, who was a pediatrician at Jawaharlal Hospital. He used to call this scholarship syndrome. So in and around the scholarship exam, children used to present with stomach pain, body pains, headache, and nausea. So it was identified as a functional syndrome caused by stress due to grade 5 scholarship exam. When it comes to the grade 5 scholarship exam, currently there are two papers. One paper measures the general intelligence that checks learning abilities, potential in areas of substitution, interpretation, prediction, translation, problem solving, things like that. And it's a 45-minute paper. And paper 2 focus on subject matter, first language, English, mathematics, and environmental studies. Now, the irony is that children go for tuition classes from grade 2 onwards. Now, it actually is becoming from grade 1 onwards to get trained and coach for this grade 5 exam. So, children as young as 6 years old, they attend tuition classes. So, you can see this advertisement. කොළඹ රජයේ විදුහලක ගුරුවරියක් විසින් මෙහෙයුම් ලබන 2, 3, 4, 5 ශ්‍රේණිවල සිසුන් සඳහා ශිෂ්‍යත්ව පන්ති. So පුංචි පහ විභාගයට එන්න අපි හුරු වෙමු. And this is a picture of a large seminar held for the grade 5 students to coach for the grade 5 scholarship exam. And this is actually hilarious, but it's pathetic to know the burden of grade 5 scholarship exam was highlighted by this incident, which revolved around a lady called Hayashika Fernando. She conducted a seminar at BMICH, which was attended by about 2,000-3,000 children, and she was brought into the BMICH through a police escort, and there were helicopters putting down flowers on her. So you can see how important event this grade 5 exam has become. She has become a national star. And in fact, there's a statue, Hayashika Gurudevi Pilime. So this is a statue. This says, Dabara teacher Amma Hevat, Garu Acharya, Hayashika Gurumata, Hayashika Gurudevi Pilimek, Obage Nivasata Vadamava, Pudasatkarkara Ashirvanaga, Nisaka Jaya Labagan. Pilimaker Miller Rupial Visipanda. So she has become a goddess. Goddess in the eyes of the parents. So it has become such a burden that children spend their leisure time, evenings, mainly going into tuition classes from the age of about 6 to 7 years. And there are very hilarious stories. Now, the parents are so interested about their children getting through the exam. Sometimes the child goes to one tuition class and the mother goes to another tuition class. And mother comes home and teaches the child what was taught in the tuition class she went. These are not made up stories. These are actually real stories. So it has become widely accepted that this has caused immense psychological stress on children as young as 10 years old. But my argument is it is not only the psychological stress. This exam has caused non-development of skills of very young children of Sri Lanka at a crucial stage of development. And this has become a real problem in training them in various fields as adults. Now, according to the Sri Lankan Education Ministry, the aim of first 5 years of primary education, that is from the age of 6 years to 10 years, is to develop competencies across 7 broad areas. That's communication, including literacy, numeracy, graphics, information and technology proficiency, social and biological and physical environmental education, ethics and religion, use of leisure, enjoyment and recreation, learning to learn, personality development, preparation for the world of work. So you can see when it comes to desk work, there are only few, 1 or 2 out of these 7 broad areas which will need desk work. Most of the other areas will need children working outside the classroom, doing leisure activities, looking at the environment. So what this exam has done is to restrict or reduce the number of hours child would spend out of the desk. And that has made a huge impact in the children. And we are seeing it as a problem in the younger generation where lack of multiple skills, capabilities are not there. Because this is a very crucial stage of development, the age of 6 to 10. There are 6 subjects taught in primary schools. When you look at these 6 subjects, you can see that there is very little emphasis. Though they say that the aim is to widen or broaden 7 areas, when it comes to subjects, there is only one subject here, which is environmental studies, but that is also taught as a written subject in primary school. So, even according to the Sri Lankan primary school curriculum, it is divided into 3 stages, stage 1, stage 2 and stage 3. So, stage 1 is grade 1 to 2. Most of the time is devoted to play and learning through activities with minimal desk work. Now, this is the time that this grade 5 examination coaching is beginning. So, you can see, though we say that there will be minimum desk work, due to the grade 5 exam, scholarship exams emphasis, children would only do desk work, but devote very little time for play, learning through play and other activities. Now, between ages of 5 to 10, I think there are many pediatricians in this forum would know that there are many areas of skills that the child would develop. They are physical skills. So physical skills is they are gross motor and fine motor. Gross motor is gaining muscle activities through various physical activities by doing play, mainly play, and also fine motor skills are developed through also play. Actually, play in children plays a huge part in developing these skills. Then cognitive and language development. Now, this may be linked to desk work to a certain extent, but grade 5 exam has become an exam of only memorizing and writing. Critical thinking, language development to a wide extent is not there. Memory is improved to an extent by the grade 5 exam. Literacy maybe also improved by grade 5 exam, but critical thinking and language skills, multiple language skills are not developed through these. So when it comes to social and emotional skills, which is developed between the age 5 to 10, self-awareness, emotional understanding, social interaction, self-control. These are the other key areas a child would develop between age 5 to 10. So this type of awareness, emotional understanding, social interactions are developed through interaction with other children, mainly playing with other children through various activities. But when the time is restricted for study and desk work, this type of skill is not developed. And thinking and reasoning is the other skill, which is also again developed through various activities, puzzles, board games, cooking and baking, simple scientific exam. Then the other area is language and literacy. Now, language and literacy, in line with the grade 5 scholarship exam, is mainly by memorizing. It would ask for various names, even for example, maybe agricultural equipment in Sri Lanka, or words used in agriculture in Sri Lanka. Some of these words have actually become obsolete, but they are memorized and asked at the grade 5 exam. So there's no storytelling, no role play, writing practice are also not there. Then other activities that children develop during age 5 to 10 are peer relationship, cooperative play, role-playing scenarios, empathy and emotional regulation, feeling activities, mindfulness and calming study. Now, when I can't explain in detail, but most of these developmental aspects in children develop through play activities, mainly through informal play. Now, during our childhood, we had a lot of time to spend on these activities. But when you come to the current generation of Sri Lankan primary school children, it is very pathetic. From the age of 6 or 7, they are coached to sit for this grade 5 scholarship exam, which is a written exam. And therefore, we have children growing without developing many skills which are needed to become full-blown adults in life. So it's not that people are not aware of the grade 5, the problems revolving around grade 5 scholarship exam. People are aware of that. And in fact, many politicians, when they came into power at the very beginning, they said that they are going to abolish the Grade 5 exam. So one was President Maithripala Sirisena. Then from another government, former Education Minister Bandulu Gunawadana, then Akila Viraj Karyavasam, and also the last in line is Dr. Harini Amarasingh. But what we notice is that though they come out with this slogan of abolishing the Grade 5 exam, they would not proceed with that. Why is that? That is because Grade 5 exam is a requirement of the society, of the Sri Lankan society. Sri Lankan society has become mainly a middle class society. Not through, I won't say it is through the income. When you compare to a country like UK, the income of a middle class citizen in Sri Lanka is very low. The activities they would also do is low compared to middle class of a developed country, and the facilities they have are also very low. But the Sri Lankan middle class is a middle class of mainly attitudes. In attitudes, they have become a middle class. They want to become socially more advanced, gain more better education, need more healthcare facilities, better transport. So into this package comes the Grade 5 scholarship exam, where the middle class thinks that their children need to sit for this exam and get into a school of popularity, prestige, to climb to the next level of social layer in the country. So therefore, anyone who attempts to abolish the Grade 5 exam would become a very unpopular person. So the last thing the politicians want to be is to become unpopular. So immediately when they realize that they would become unpopular, they totally give up this idea. So what happened is that Grade 5 scholarship exam is continuing, and our primary school children are becoming stressed due to the exam. Not only that, our future generation is becoming a generation without a personality development of other skills, motor skills, fine motor skills, emotional skills, and our generation is become a generation who would concentrate only on desk work. So that is becoming a real problem in our country. This is seen by many analysis of the workforce of Sri Lanka. Workforce of Sri Lanka at the moment is 8 million. And out of this 8 million, 1 million is driving three-wheelers. So 1/8 of because three-wheeler driving is a profession which would need least amount of skills. So what is the income generation they would make to the country? Whereas many fields of construction, agriculture is lacking labor. So we are having a labor crisis. It's very difficult. It has become very difficult to train people in technological fields. I feel it is mainly due to the non-development of skills, other skills during the primary school education. So it is very important that we address this issue and focus more on primary education and improve other skills of children. Now, how could it be done? I personally feel this scholarship exam cannot be abolished altogether. Because Sri Lanka is a country where there is educational disparity. This educational disparity cannot be corrected overnight. even if there's an attempt to correct this educational disparity, that would take years. Until then, there has to be a method of selecting good students who have a bright future and allowing them to get into prestigious popular schools. We cannot get away of this concept of prestigious and popular schools in the near future. To do that, before pumping the money to education, what has to happen is that the economy has to develop. We do not know when the economy will develop. So until such time, some kind of a selection methodology for the children who are better than others has to be there, and they have to be given a good opportunity to study in schools which have more facilities. So there are many things that were proposed to reduce the burden of grade 5 scholarship exam. So one was to make the exam voluntary in all schools. Actually, it is voluntary. It's not a compulsory exam. You can refuse to sit. So this is not a valid proposal. Reserve large number of quotas for students to enter grade 6 via scholarship exam result in privileged schools. So this is to explain this. Now, if you take a privileged school like Royal College, there are students coming from grade 1 who start from grade 1. Then second proposal, what it proposes is to reduce the number of students who are entering such schools at grade 1 and reserve more seats for students who are entering from grade 5, which I feel is not a practical solution, because anybody who tries to do this will have a huge objection from especially the old boys and pressure groups of these privileged schools. They would not allow to cut down the number of children who would enter at grade 1 to these privileged schools. Increase the financial allowance and ensure timely delivery. Now, financial allowance is not the major issue, the major attraction to sit for the grade 5 scholarship exam. It is getting a privileged school, which is the major attraction, though this is not a valid argument. Change of structure. Change of structure means to change the nature of questions. But whatever the nature of question, it will be a desk exam, a national exam. So therefore, children studying and going for tuition, coaching them at home will never stop. My proposal is to change the timing of the exam and postpone it to grade 7 or 8. I will explain why I am saying so. And fifth one is eliminate or regulate tuition targeting scholarship exam, which is also not practical in our country. If you officially make tuition illegal, unofficial tuition will start and the cost of tuition will become more. And that would actually make a disparity again. So when it comes to timing of the exam, in the National Education Committee also, what I proposed was to postpone it to grade 7. Because this is mainly a desk exam, if you postpone it to grade 7, at least from the grade 1, we can say up to grade 4 or 5, a child can have his childhood. They can play, they can learn through activities, and maybe from the age of 9 or 10, they can start to get ready for the grade 7 scholarship exam. So this type of a hurdle is there even in developed countries, as I know. I mean, in Australia, I think there's something like that. I don't know whether it's in UK also. So there is an exam at grade 8 where children sit and they can get into better schools. Now, educational disparity is a truth. Even in developed countries, between schools, there are disparities. Now, I know actually people who migrate from countries like, especially Asian countries, when they settle down, they look at the postcode and settle down. That is because they look at as to where the good schools are and then settle down in those areas. So educational disparity, I know for sure, is in UK also. Even in between government school, I worked in Kent. There are two government schools, either side of the road, and one government school was supposed to be a good school, and it was attended by a different social strata altogether. And the other government school was considered as poor of poor educational quality, and that school was attended by a different kind of social status. So educational disparity is something you cannot completely eliminate. So therefore, my proposal was to postpone it to grade 7 and lessen the burden on children who are very young and let them have their childhood. But there's a problem in doing so. So these are the statistics of government schools. You can see there are 3,860 schools which have only grade 1 to 5. Now, if you extend the exam to grade 7, these schools have to expand their grades from grade 1 to 5 to grade 1 to 7. So that is a physical change that has to be done in schools, which will need some money. But this won't be very difficult because there are many abundant schools now which are not attended by students or attended by very few number of students. So if they use the facilities of these schools, this can be done. So other issue is that if the students get admitted from the grade 8 to these schools, then the so-called schools which are privileged and more popular have to keep these seats vacant for these students from grade 5 to 7. So these are the two simple things that they have to do. When you look at these statistics, you can see there are several schools, grade 1 to 5. The largest number of schools which are attended by students are schools which have grade 1 to 30. It's 1.6 million. So most of the popular schools are of this category. Then the second popular schools are category which has grade 6 to 13, which is about 900,000. So what you have to do is that grade 6 to 13 schools have to start from grade 8 to 13, and grade 1 to 13 or 1 to 13 schools have to keep the seats vacant from grade 6 to 7. So that is the small change that has to be done to lessen the burden of grade 5 scholarship exam and make the child of Sri Lanka a child who has a holistic type of development, a holistic education. So thank you. I think we can have a discussion on this. So please join us at the discussion and we can have a chat on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajith. That is very good, and you have given all the information regarding why it was important for you as a pediatrician to start with, and then and the history of the scholarship exam, and you also make a proposal as well to modify or reform the system. I think I will now open it up for the others in the usual way to ask any questions that they have. Any questions?
I'll start
Okay.
with a question, if that's okay with you. Ajith, as pediatricians, Lalit, you and I are pediatricians. I didn't check, the other names to see who else is there. But there is this concept of window of opportunity. The
Yes.
brain,
Yes.
the brain plasticity. There is a window of opportunity. So I was just refreshing my memory by doing a Google search on this. Um, the language skills must be acquired before the age of about 10, because any languages introduced after that age, you're not going to be um, very polished with that language. Basically, if you want to speak like a native person, you have to be introduced into that language before the age of about 10. And then mathematical skills, I didn't know about that, but I just did a search, and they say that you have to expose to mathematical skills before the age of about 8. Now, forget about this exact age of 8 or 10, but in general terms, I think those are the two main skills. Mathematics and language skills are the ones which needs to be acquired before the age of, before grade 5 or grade 6, whichever it is. So all the other things, like your history, geography, religious education, all the other things, you can actually acquire later on. But the most important skill seems to be mathematical and language skills. So don't you think that people, have to give a higher priority in the junior schools to those skills, and so that everybody at least has to be exposed to English at a very early stage, and if possible, if even a third language, because that makes a big difference in the international field, because our education system is now providing people to the international market. Whether we like it or not, that's what's happening. Yeah, and probably India has done that for several years, and many other countries, they are producing it for the international market. So, what do you think of that proposal, that we have to concentrate on language, mathematics, at least because it has a scientific basis?
Yeah. It's a very valid point. The issue is that the grade 5 scholarship exam has become so competitive. The skills which are developed are only maybe language and mathematics. But in child development, in psychology, it is mentioned that other aspects, fine motor skills, gross motor skills, emotional skills, social skills also have to be initiated and developed at a very early stage. Some of these are very difficult to train later. And also the child would, especially exploring the environment, has to begin at a very early stage. Now, I'm sorry to say, but though we talk about many people, getting exposed to uh, the world, and we are looking at the world market, what happened is that we have produced many maybe educated people. But when it comes to the leadership of organizations, the Sri Lankan community has not shined well, which I feel may become even worse. We may produce a lot of technocrats. Now, it is actually, in India, it is very well said. They say South India has technocrats and North India has bureaucrats, right? So, we will produce a lot of maybe technocrats. A doctor, you can say, is a technocrat. Engineer may be a technocrat. But when it comes to, advanced positions, leadership positions, we will actually we will perform very poorly if you don't have emphasis on primary school education, emphasis on interactions, emotional control, and working out exploration, having many strategies for a problem. That type of thing we will actually will be behind unless we improve the primary education to become more rounded type of education. And that is the ideal stage, because once you have the initial basic skills of language and mathematics, you can build on that. But whereas this is a lost opportunity where children need not have so much of emphasis on desk skills. They have more, if they can spend more time on leisure activities, you can make a better person. Maybe not a better educated person, but better person.
Okay, so there are no other questions. So in the meantime, I will ask another question. One, Ajith, it's a comment as well to say that when the new government came into power, when that was in last year November, and that was the time that there was an issue regarding the release of a grade 5 scholarship paper. So because of that, the government went on record to there's lots of issues at that time. And our Prime Minister and Education Minister said at that time that she is going to abolish the grade 5 scholarships. And now 1 year is gone. And today 1 is gone, and there was another grade 5 scholarship. And today they published what are the cutoff marks for the schools. So that means actually the whole the government's proposal regarding this government's stated aims or the proposal regarding scholarships has also completely gone under the radar, and they are also going to the same process, and nothing is going to be done. Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, my understanding is that unless you have a better understanding as to how to solve this problem, it will be just political slogans that would be told by politicians. And when it comes to the last year exam, I think the court intervened and gave a decision.
Yes.
The several parties went to courts, and court intervened and gave a decision, and the government had to abide by that. And I think in the judgment, they have severely criticized the government's stand on that.
Yes, but the issue is now so they had 1 year to come up with a proposal, and they didn't. And there's another exam was held,
Yes.
and that is also published. So there's so already if we were to, and we haven't seen or heard anything about any other new any new proposal. So it looks like it is going to just continue.
Yeah, it will definitely continue like this. Nobody will touch this. This is like a hot brick. Nobody will touch this. But our country will continue to suffer because of this.
Okay. And the other one is actually it's not and it's a big financial burden as well, because there are children who are going to
Yes.
for the tuition. There are tuition classes, as you said, they start from grade 2.
Grade 2. They start
And
from grade 2. You can see them for a tuition teacher to become a goddess, Guru Devi, and for them to sell a statue of for 25,000 rupees to keep in your house to memorize better. I mean, you can see how this exam is looked by our society. I think Samantha wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, it's me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's
Yeah.
very in-depth and very comprehensive analysis, and thank you very much. And I think you address all the issues, especially related to the inequalities, rise of the tuition, the stress, pedagogy, and I would like also you finally mentioned about the importance of the soft skill. I think it's a very, very valid point, actually, what our education is doing. Now, the question is, what would be the solution? I think this is
Yeah.
we all struck,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. Solution, I think I propose.
Yeah.
I feel this exam cannot be abolished.
Yeah. So can I just
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That's what I was thinking. Now, when it comes to the issue, mainly it is because of the inequalities, right, and the lack of facilities, to the rural schools, and so I don't know how many actually, the central colleges or national colleges are in different zonal education zones. Is it not possible? One of my question to you, actually, I have a few questions. Hello.
Yeah.
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 Now, I don't know how much this government are putting effort to develop these other schools as especially identified schools. Now, for example, like you correctly mentioned, this soft skills development is very crucial. And also we know that not all the children are performing well in all the fields. Some will be very good in sports, music, dancing, etc. Right? And is it not possible as to identify these secondary schools with this special skills development, and providing the opportunity for the kids to another pathways, and restructuring our school system, and the primary, then the secondary, and within the secondary, not only these particular popular schools. For example, Walalay Ratnayaka, right? Walalay Ratnayaka, that's the school now producing the athletes to the country, very popular. And and they were not popular in 1980s, and now it's one of the popular school in the country. Is it not us to change this trend, and also the attitude of the people, how parents see the education?
Yeah, it's possible, but only issue is that see now now there are schools suddenly coming up with uh, uh, various special fields, as you mentioned. But when you look at those schools, if you go and really look at those schools, you will see one or two individuals, maybe the principal or one or two teachers who are interested about this, and over the years they develop the skill. So, but from the government itself, there's no help or opportunity. Actually, what they can do is they can develop such schools. Now, for example, long time back, Horana Sri Pali was a school which was producing a lot of musicians.
Yeah.
Right. That is because the musicians were produced, and they became teachers there, and it became a real, school which was producing so many musicians, and also children who had special skills in music used to go to that school. So that type of a specialty development you can do, maybe without any major intervention from the
Yeah.
government.
And also, I noted that statistics says only 10% actually get the benefit of this
Yes.
exam, scholarship exam. So it means 90% are actually suffering because of these exams. Rather than completely abolishing the exam, I don't know. I feel like maybe we can make it optional. Another option. I would like to know your opinion about that. Thank you.
So
Ajith,
anyway,
for
it's
the
optional.
answer. Yeah.
Anyway, it's optional. Now I can say more than 95% of children sit for this exam not to get the financial assistance. They sit for the exam to get into a better school. Right? And 10% are getting only 10% are getting financial assistance. One thing is that, though it is not mentioned in that paper that I extracted, is that they are not qualified to get the financial. For example, I got through grade 5 scholarship exam, but I did not get the assistance because my father was a government servant. If your father is a government servant of I think some salaries salary level, you don't get the financial assistance. So that is one reason for many people not to get. But the main attraction for the grade 5 scholarship now is not the financial assistance. It is the school.
Thank you, Ajith. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shreya Kalupu.
I think Kavan was before Shreya. Kavan, you want to go? Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I came, the Royal College had a different system 60 years ago when I sat for that exam. It was compulsory. We already all had to sit for it. It was not voluntarily. And about quite a large number, which is about 40%, did not go on to Royal College because Royal Primary and Royal College were different schools, and we had to sit for the exam to enter Royal. I think there was a preference from Royal Primary students to a certain percentage, but on the other hand, there was a large number of students who came from outside. So you could have that sort of same system because Royal College was right on the top of that list. And maybe the reason why that number is large is because the number of places there are in Royal College to join at grade 6 is limited, because currently all the students who are in grade 1 to 5 go through without without getting out. Whereas in our years back in 1963, when I sat for that exam, uh, all of them did not get in. Only the best of that lot got in, and the others went to Thurston and other schools, Isipatana and other schools. So it's not as if it is cannot be implemented, because that system was there 60 years ago.
Yeah, Karan, the issue is that those days there was a entry exam conducted by individual schools. For example, not during my period, before my period also, maybe in 1960s, the scholarship exam was there, mainly to give scholarships to poor students and also to gain entry to central colleges. So that was a time, 1960s, 70s was a time where the central colleges were very powerful actually. They were very good. And in addition to that, popular schools like Royal, Anand, Nalanda had entrance exams at grade 6. But the situation has changed. Now what will happen is, if you have an entrance exam for Royal College, about 100,000 will sit for that. Right? And it cannot be handled basically. So what will happen is that same student will, 100,000 students will sit for the Ananda College exam, another 100,000 will sit for the Royal College exam. So that is not practical at the moment. So this is why I say, I feel the issue is mainly due to expansion of the middle class. Right? The aspirations to get into the Royal College has become more. Large number want to get into the Royal College. Large number want to get into the Ananda College. So therefore, currently, only a national exam is possible. It will be impossible for schools to have their own exams under current circumstances.
Okay, two questions. One is, when did the changeover from individual colleges having exams, which is most probably what I sat for, to the colleges entering students on a national exam happen?
I think early 70s, because I sat the grade 5 scholarship in 74. At that time, there were no entry exams for different schools. 94. So probably there was an educational reform in 1972 or 73. Probably with that it was abolished.
Yeah, it was
That was
around
the
that
time,
time.
Lalit, you can remember NCG was introduced, and you were that crowd, no? NCG.
Yes, yes. Ruan,
There was a
and
major educational reforms in 1973, I think. 72 or 73.
Yes, around that time, Royal College also was merged into one school.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
still,
So that is the time it was like, they are, I think Royal started from grade 6 at that time.
Yes.
So that was the time that, many changes happened. But in 77, everything was, again reversed. But this scholarship exam thing continued.
Okay, so but even now you could have the system by saying, okay, you can have up to grade 6 Royal College having reasonable amount, Royal Primary having reasonable about students, but to go on to grade 6, you have to sit for this in national scholarship exam, and only the best will go across to grade 6. That is possible, right? To implement without
Yeah.
trying to reduce the number of people who get into grade 1 in Royal College.
Yeah. So the practical issue is that anybody who attempts to do that would have a huge resistance from all boys associations. Huge resistance.
But that is the way
most
it
of these
was
people are
60
very
years ago.
influential, and then this thing will totally collapse because the OBs want to keep the number of students which enter at grade 1 to this extent or even more.
Yes, but then if all of them don't go on to grade 6 because there is this national scholarship exam, then that allows people from outside. And I think Royal College gained a lot by getting students from at least about 30% of the students in our class came from outside Royal College. And that was an advantage to us because in our O-level, A-levels, we did very well. So
let's listen to Shreya's question as well. Shreya?
Sorry, my camera is not working. I was listening. It's a very sad state of affairs, and you feel, what can we do, or is there any suggestion? Because I am a psychiatrist, so I can see how children's biopsychosocial development is going to be hampered, and the repercussions will be felt many years later. So it will be too late. So is there any way that government or any other people could be influenced by mass petitioning or anything like that? I really feel for the children of Sri Lanka, because my children and my grandchildren are all here. And
yeah, I feel discussion has to start and the solution has to be given, and the solution has to be practical.
yes,
You have to understand these most of the, at the end of the day, these solutions are implemented by politicians. So
that's right. That's right.
they have to get convinced that they will at least not become less popular by their actions.
As you said, it has to come from the populace, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that is the difficulty.
So I think most acceptable to the society, most acceptable to the politicians would be postponing this exam to grade 7.
Yes.
That will not upset anything, but only thing is that there are some physical changes that you have to make in the schools. As I said, like the grade 1 to 5 schools have to be expanded till grade 1 to 7, and the grade 1 to 13 schools have to keep the seats vacant up till some grade 7. So those are the only two changes, and this will need some kind of financial commitment.
Yeah. So, in the government, as you said, the Prime Minister had made a proposal. And is there any possibility of harnessing?
Unfortunately, grade 5 scholarship is not mentioned in those proposals.
Right.
Even the word grade 5 scholarship is not mentioned.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. It's very enlightening. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Dalit?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment regarding the previous questions and the comment regarding the what can we do about that. I think as doctors or as teachers or any other professionals, I think it is important. Sometimes it is important to let the public know about the effects of this exam on their children. Because as most of you know that, I come from Balapitia. And one of the things that I have now discovered more recently is that some of the children who pass the exams will go to scholarship exam, will go to Royal College or will go to Colombo schools. And they will actually at this tender age, they'll be stayed in hostels in without their parents in Colombo, just to go to schools in Colombo. I have absolutely no. I'm really worried about these children growing up without their presence of their parents in a place in Colombo, away from their family, just to go to a what they consider better school. And I think it is important to some of the professionals who work in Sri Lanka to educate the public regarding the issue. Just a comment.
Yes.
And also we have seen, Lalit, somebody published recently the medical school admission list.
Yes.
I think still Royal was at the top, but then second was Gampaha. Was it Ratnavali?
Bandaranaike.
Yes.
Bandaranaike.
Yes.
Yeah, something like
Bandaranaike.
that. And then I think we are finding more and more different schools from different areas now coming to the top. So there is a chance, if that trend goes on, that people don't want to sort of move, let's say, from Gamparat now. Nobody wants to come to Visakha Vidyalaya in Colombo because that produces as many children who end up as doctors, if that's what they want.
I feel it's not
So
only
Ruwan, there's a
not only the
question.
education.
Shehan said that she
Yeah.
wants to ask some questions, but she cannot
sorry.
raise the hand.
Okay.
Shall we?
Let's
Okay.
give a chance to Sharon first.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lalit, for that interesting talk. I just wanted maybe slightly off your scholarship exam, but about free education. It's compulsory in Sri Lanka in theory, but it doesn't work in practice. So is there any way of monitoring whether children of a certain age are kept back, say, to look after their younger children, or they can't get to the school, whatever reasons? And the other questions I had was about development, cognitive development, the importance of music and IT, a skill that we are going to need in the future. So these are very resource intensive. So I don't think we can afford for everybody, but maybe something like singing, which we don't require an instrument, for development of music. Do you think, what are the future plans for that? We have to think.
See, when it comes to music, I don't think in the Sri Lankan setup you need a lot of money to develop music as a subject in schools. Even now, there are many schools which teach music now. I went to a school about 3 years back, from Vallavai, you had to go about 20 kilometers. They had a music teacher and they had a music room as well. It's the interest that is needed. I don't think that will need a lot of money. But the problem is that even there, what we can observe is that people pay more attention to the subject matter rather than music, the children and also the parents. Because it's getting through the exam which is important in the Sri Lankan context. So therefore, the time spent to develop other skills are very low. Then there was this issue of whether you do the grade 5 scholarship exam with the intention of getting into a school with better education. I don't think so. The main purpose which drives the parents to send their child to a school which is popular and more prestigious is that they become an all boy or all girl of that school. So that is the main driving force, because they are aware the school that they may be studying before they enter the school that they think that's more prestigious has a better education, better teachers. They will pay more attention to that. It's not the education that drives the parents in Sri Lanka to put their children into these prestigious schools. It is their children becoming all boys or girls of that school. Which is the most important thing that is driving. So, for example, you can say your child is going to Royal, Anand, Visaka. So that's the main driving force.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry. Shehan, what was your first question? I think you had another question. I think
countries like China, introducing IT. How are
Yes.
we going to keep with the times? I mean, again, it's a case of not having enough computer equipment in schools in
Yes.
rural areas.
But
So
that also, I feel, in time to come will equalize, because Sri Lanka has a very, I can say, very technologically driven type of society. How fast we have taken mobile phones, how fast our people have, using the social media. It has a very wide penetration. So it's the cost only which is the hurdle, but the cost is becoming also less, because we are getting so much of second-hand computers, laptops into our country. The cost is becoming very low now.
all right, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just point out another aspect, Ajith,
Yes.
from my own experience? Okay, so at my age, I'm almost retired now, so I'm just thinking, what are the skills apart from my core, learning skills? What are the other skills which help me in my social standing? Number one is music, undoubtedly. Number two is my sort of sports skills. I learned cricket, badminton, table tennis, etc. But none of these from the school. Okay, so that's an important thing, because my background was church background. I was a Christian those days. I went to the church, and the church gave me all these skills, because I was in the choir, so I learned to sing. I learned all the basics of singing, and uh, my leadership skills came through, doing readings in front of, the whole church. Then I was the secretary, president of the youth society. So all those skills, actually, in retrospect, was built through the church. Now, I'm really grateful. I probably no longer call myself a Christian, but that's a different matter. But I'm really grateful for the church, because it gave me all those skills. Now, saying that, the Buddhist schools, I believe, are struggling with this, because they don't give those, at least the music skills, are not part of their curriculum. Right? So therefore, you will see this, in our Sri Lankan society, many famous singers having a Christian background, just simply because of that. So I think, in a way, the Buddhist schools are actually doing a disservice to the general society because of that. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think the Buddhist schools are producing a lot of technocrats, right? Maybe not the leaders. So leaders, it's very difficult to say, because now when you have very large schools, you have differently talented people, who are studying, who are doing sports, who are doing music. But see, what we need is to have a person who have many skills, not a person having one skill. So, in that sense, I agree that Christian schools and Christian, background gives a more rounded type of education, with lot of opportunities and emphasis on other aspects as well, rather than one single driven path towards only learning, only book learning, desk work.
Kavan has raised his hand. Kavan?
Just to comment on what Ruan said, I'm not a Christian. I did not go to Buddhist schools either. I mean, Royal College had there, but Royal College gave that by all the extracurricular clubs like Interact Club and others clubs that are in Royal. And that gave me the same skills that you would have learned in the church. And I also come to the other point, which I think is interesting to talk about in primary education, is that whether the church education or the religion should be taught in church and the Buddhist Dhamma schools, or should it be taught in a government school? Because I think government schools should teach philosophy, even particularly to kids, because at the young age they shouldn't be stereotyped into any of the religions or not have a religion either. So I think now in America, all the schools don't teach religion inside the school because there is a inside the government schools, because there is a separation of state and religion. And I think that is the sort of thing should be brought into Sri Lanka as well.
It's very interesting, but it's actually, I also agree with you. In fact, in 1950s, Martin Wickramasinghe, I consider him as the only philosopher which is produced from Sri Lanka. He's a philosopher, actually. He strongly proposed that really teaching religion is taken out of the schools. And he says religion has to be taught by religious institutions, not the school. Right? But only issue is I don't think it's possible now to take religion out of schools. It would be another major political issue if you stop teaching religion in schools now. See, not only that. Now, for example, when I was in the National Education Commission, School Education Committee, I made a proposal actually to add value education, values education or value education, Achara Dharma Adhyapaniya, Sar Dharma Adhyapaniya into the syllabus. So then there was this argument of whether the religion is giving value education. So my argument was that religion does not give value education. Sar Dharma Adhyapaniya is different from Agamika Adhyapaniya. Because any kind of value depends on the time and the society, and it changes. So at the end, anyway, after about 6-7 years, I am happy to say that religion and value education is a subject. Agamasa Saradharma Adhyapana. It's a combined subject. So in addition to religion, they will teach in the future. I think from next year also, they will teach in the school the values of human beings, society, and things like that.
That's great.
So,
But
yeah.
let me ask you, I'm not sure, is religion compulsory for the O-level? There was always an ambiguity as to whether religion was compulsory in the O-level, because I can remember I failed religion, Buddhism, and then I sort of crammed it up and got through again because I was not sure whether it was
No, there's
compulsory.
no compulsion. No compulsion.
It's not compulsory now.
No.
Do
You
you think
have
it
to
was
sit the exam.
compulsory?
You have to sit the subject.
Yes.
You have to sit, but it's not necessary to get through it.
So only Sinhala and arithmetic. Mathematics is compulsory?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Ajith, there is a comment from Jasmine and Sam to the meeting group that I agree with Kavan that how schools in UK function teachers how schools in UK function. They teach us all religions and not just one religion. Only my comment is that actually, if you abolish the grade 5 scholarships and abolish teaching Buddhism at schools, that will be the end of there will be another revolution on the
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
You can be rest assured that tomorrow morning it will be arrested. Even
education, as an education minister, the best way to survive is not to do anything.
Yes. If anyone proposes that to abolish the grade 5 scholarships and
Yes.
not to teach Buddhism at school, there will be riots. There will be riots on the street tomorrow morning.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's
Exactly.
probably, because we had this discussion, you, me, and Lalit. One of the points I probably might want to draw Lalit into this discussion now. One of the things I have now, in retrospect, when I look at my childhood, one of the things which I don't like was the physical punishment which happens in Sri Lanka. And I think not only in junior school, but in senior school as well as in medical school, we were basically scared to ask a question because either we were punished, we were ridiculed, or, sort of almost we were suppressed. So even in this country, for a long time, if there's a question in my mind, I analyze and reanalyze before asking that question in an open forum. Oh, would it be a silly question? Would anybody laugh at it? Do I know the answer already? But in this country, nobody thinks twice like that. They just ask the question. So suppressive techniques used in education, such as what I told you, do you think we need to do something about them? I mean, not just legally, but sort of attitude change. I know that there are laws against physical punishment, but the other techniques such as shouting over and ridiculing and demeaning people. What's your attitude? Well, probably both Lalit and your attitude on those questions.
Lalit, you want to answer? See,
Well,
I
I think
feel a part
yes.
of our culture, not our culture, it's a part of Asian culture, basically. I mean, if you go to, I think India is worse. India is worse, questioning is never done. So it's a matter of listening. So anybody who, so that actually hinders the development, basically. So different countries have different cultures. That was, it's very difficult to change this. Very difficult.
I mean, before Lalit open his mouth, I'll just give you an example of how these types of, things have ingrained into even little children, right? I think in 2017, 16, around that time, I was in Sri Lanka, and my friend Nirmalan took me to his school in Jaffna. I think Jaffna Central or whatever the school it was. And then when we were sort of walking around, we saw a bunch of canes outside. So out of interest, I mean, we were given a prefect to, because Nirman was a distinguished old boy, so we were given a prefect to take us around, two prefects. So I just asked the prefect, what are these canes for? Because even at that point, I think physical chastisement was banned. So he said, oh, that's to cane us. So I was interested. I said, have you been caned? So he said, yes, sir. So I asked, why were you caned? So he said, because I got low marks in maths. Not even, not even a real, bad thing to do. So then I asked the next question from him. So do you think, because I was thinking, he has a resentment about this, and he wants to abolish physical chastisement. So I asked, so do you think it did anything good for you? So he thought a bit and he said, yes, sir. So I said, why? Thereafter, I studied more and I improved my maths marks. So I think it did good for me. So, even the children's mind is a A-level prefect. They have been changed into, look, you deserve these physical chastisements and you are benefiting from it. So I think, as you said, it's ingrained into us. I don't know what Lalit thinks, what happened in his school, I don't know.
Well, Ruan, I have very strong and opposite opinions on that. In the sense that, I think probably I will disagree with Ajith as well. I think there is this issue about that, although it is part of our culture, it is not actually universal in that sense. because I was not brought up with the physical chastisement at my home, although I'm from Balapitiya, right? And because but it's a very important one, because we still talk about this very openly at our home. And because my parents were very much advanced to their age. For example, even so I was born in 1961. At that time, I remember, I distinctly remember that my aunt was reasonably, they were in a better financial position. So they had domestic servants at home. And my parents were very much against of keeping the children as domestic helpers, even at that time, when it was socially accepted in the society, right? So actually it was not in that way. And then again, I went to school in both Devananda and Dharmashoka in Ambalangoda. And the Dharmashoka, at that Dharmashoka school, we are just about to have a get together after 50 years after we set our O level at NCG in couple of weeks time. And we were talking about a one teacher who physically punished children. None of the other teachers actually did physical punishment at school, and it was not an accepted one at Dharmashoka at that time when we were there. And actually, teachers did not. There were some teachers who would actually shout at us, but certainly not at A level, not by A level classes. Right? It was a very different culture. So I don't necessarily agree that it's one, and actually that may be one of the reasons that actually we are very different, or am very different to other children, to other people, in the sense that I was brought up very much of that. I was able to question other people, other people. So I think I beg to disagree with the concept that it is actually a part of our culture in that way. And actually it can be taught to parents and to the students and to the teachers to say that there are other ways of actually looking disciplining children. But on the other hand, with regard to the school one, what I heard a couple of weeks ago from a group discussion, in Sri Lankan group discussion about physical chastisement, nearly 80% of the primary, especially primary school, 80% of the primary school teachers are women in Sri Lanka. And they said, because of that, physical chastisement, simply because of that as well, physical chastisement is gradually disappearing from primary schools in Sri Lanka. Because usually the women teachers do not hit children in the same way that the male teachers used to hit children. So it is and my view is actually the attitude is changing, and I'm very open to say that our government is far behind the population with regard to that. Because the people who organized the discussion regarding the corporal punishments are Colombo University Students Union, right? Can you imagine? The Colombo University Students Union is the only group, is the first group of people to organize an event to discuss about corporal punishment, right? Because the student recognized that this is an important subject that need to be discussed. And I still think that although we joked about the teaching the religion and the grade 5 scholarship as well, because our middle class parents want their children to do better. If they find that actually we can have better children by not hitting them or by actually doing them, they will actually follow that. And my view is actually that actually those people are much more, they are more progressive, and they are far in front of the government regarding these issues, and even the religious education and sex education. the parents are very much progressive than the government, because the government is afraid of a small minority group of with vested interest group of the Buddhist monks and others, a small group of people. But if you ask on the public opinion, it's very different. That's my view.
Thank you for that. මේ ඉස්කෝලේ වැඩියම ගුටි කාපු එකෙක් අත උස්සලා තිනවා ඩොක්ටර් සුසන් උඩගෙදර.
That's true, actually. I know you're joking, but that's true. You were, yeah. No, my actually not a question. I think Ajith, because finally, when we talk about the grade 5 school, it's like we are coming to conclusion this cannot be done. But I don't believe that this can be done. And how I think the problem is how we approaching that. So I think that the government really need a strategy and the plan. The first thing is now, I think we need to develop a community with the expert, and also maybe nowadays, we can use the social media and other media, to educate the people, the disadvantages of this, grade 5 school, exams. I think it need to be, it cannot be a radical change, radical process. It need to be incremental change that the government need to consider. The other side, while educating the people of the disadvantages, right, not directly by the government, but using the other, expert and the, different communities, that will help to certain level to, change their attitude. I think the second thing maybe they need to do is very important to develop these rural schools with more facilities, probably developing them as very popular schools in the rural areas, and also the change of the pedagogy and what we are talking. I think if we do this parallelly, not as a radical but as an incremental change, that can be done. So if I give you an example, right now we were talking about the Buddhist culture, influence of all these things. When it is started like in 1950s, Radio Ceylon, and the hegemony of Buddhism and the Buddhist culture was, very strong. And if you look at how Amaradeva and the other lyricists, right, they changed that the culture within the Radio Ceylon is the best example. It wasn't radical, and it was incremental. I think if you look at all the projects recently failed in Sri Lanka, because people introduce very radical changes, and then the people start, bus drivers and everybody, and then they withdraw it. That's what happened. So we need to have a plan. It should be like maybe 3-year, 4-year long-term plan, but it should be incremental. So that's my comment. Thank you.
No, I totally agree, Susanta. Now, my personal experience, in 2012, we started a campaign, and we said the textbooks are not up to the standard. So we didn't talk about the curriculum. We said the textbooks are putrid. They are uneducated subject material. And we conducted about 8 seminars island-wide. And actually, 2 years later, they rewrote the entire set of textbooks. Now, if you look at the Sri Lankan textbooks, I can say they are of very high standards, very good standard, with a lot of pictures, explanations, and questions and all that. Second thing is that in the thing about this value education, it came as a small proposal. There was a discussion that happened in just before COVID, 2018 or 19. So I never thought it would, it would be implemented one day. So, I mean, there's no need to get any credit for anything, but anyway, it has become a reality. It was only religion which was taught, which was the subject. Now it is called the religion and value education. Agama saha Sardharma Adhyapaniya. Actually, I had to argue with, there were 2 high priests in the school education committee. I had to argue with them. මෙහෙමයි කතා වුණේ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ කෙනෙක් කිව්වා මේ ආගමෙන් සියලුම සාර ධර්ම සහ අවශ්‍ය දේවල් උගන්වනවා කියලා. ඉතින් මම ගව හාමුදුරුවනේ පාර මාරු වෙන්න තියෙන ගාථා මොකක්ද කියලා. ඉතින් ඒකට උත්තරයක් නැහැ. පාර මාරු වෙන්න ගාතාවක් නැහැ නේ. ඉතින් ඒක නිසා ආගමෙන් ගන්නන්නේ නැහැ හැමදේම සමාජයේ. ආගමෙන් ගන්න ආගම. ඉතින් උන්වහන්සේ ඊට පස්සේ කටවහගත්තා. මං කියන්නේ දැන් එහෙම අපිට ආගිව් කරන්න සිද්ධ වුණා. නමුත් අවසානයේදී ඒක at last it has become a reality. So something has happened. It will happen slowly. I mean, after 6 years, and yeah, happy. I'm happy to say that it happened at the end.
I
So things
see
happen. Right.
one of my good friends here, Dr. Satya Ariyanayagan. He's representing the Tamil community. I would like, if he's still awake, I would like to know the attitudes of the Tamil community, probably in Jaffna area. Do they have the same desire to pass the scholarship exam and come to a Colombo school, or are they happy with being in good schools in Jaffna? What do you think, Sati?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, two things. I have no knowledge of what exactly happens today because it's some time since I spent time in Jaffna. But from the knowledge I have gathered, it would appear to me that they don't have any burning desire to travel to Colombo from Jaffna. But the same kind of desire among parents prevail in terms of gaining entry to a good school. I think as it is, schools like Jaffna Hindu, Hartley College do pretty well, both in relation to producing good students as well as good results, if exams are anything to go by. So that's the first point I would make. But historically, I think there has been always the chase for those good schools through the scholarship exams, 11 plus. Kawan and others mentioned about Royal. A similar state prevailed in Jaffna too. And I think I'm not wrong in saying that it is the same in the South also. From my little experience, I have seen a big similarity between the South and the North, particularly schools around Gaul, Ambalangode, and the Northern Province, where they were producing good results, as opposed to places like Batikalo, who were behind in the past. But of course, now I think it's changing, but the change is due to various reasons, which I think we will probably have no time to go into. That's the first point I would make. And perhaps I will digress a bit and make a quick comment about corporal punishment. In relation to corporal punishment, views are diverse. There are people who still believe, even the adults of today, like the prefect that you referred to, would vouch that corporal punishment works. I think much depends, or much depended on the intention of that corporal punishment being meted out. I mean, if you breach the rules and regulations, what sort of punishment would you expect? Should it be corporal punishment or should it be some other form of punishment? I think it's a very difficult question to answer. The problem with corporal punishment as it is today is it comes into conflict with the law because corporal punishment it amounts to, or it tantamounts to assault, and it is assault. That is where I think the problem arises. So just to sum up, I think the issue about corporal punishment is difficult to take a view on, not knowing as to why corporal punishment is being meted out and how that corporal punishment is being meted out. But one would argue that, again, going back to the example of that prefect talking about the students being punished for failing their maths, it can work the other way too. There are, I mean, even today you would see people, my contemporaries too, who would say that they were put off from the subject because they were punished because they were not doing very well. So I think it's a very difficult subject to take a view on. Those are my comments, Ruan.
So just to challenge you on that, because I put out the same challenge to Lalit as well. So in the school I went to, the teacher cannot punish or cane the child. What they have to do is, if I misbehave in the class, the teacher will have to write a complaint in the complaints book, which will be sent to the headmaster. And then headmaster will call us next day or a couple of days later and make an inquiry, and then he will mete out the punishment. Sometimes it could be caning, sometimes it could be just a warning, whichever. But then the good thing in that is that headmaster is not emotionally involved with the child's misbehavior, misdeed, or whatever. Therefore, he is in a better position to give a better punishment rather than the teacher who was really annoyed with the child. So the question to probably Ajith and Lalit is that, are you suggesting that a complete ban of physical chastisement is required? Or are you suggesting that, like in the UK, like in England, physical punishment without leaving marks would be adequate? Now, Lalit just mentioned that teachers, female teachers don't punish. Well, not in the way the males do, but they will just probably do that, do things which are much in a milder form. Is that acceptable?
Well, I think Ruan, there are a couple of things here. One is actually with regard to the law is very clear in Sri Lanka that there is some misunderstanding about many people, but the law is very clear in Sri Lanka that that physical punishment, corporal punishment within the school is banned, is actually illegal, right? So there are case laws regarding what Supreme Court has given a very clear directions on that. It is illegal to do corporal punishment within schools, and within the home situation, actually, with regard to the reasonable chastisement question comes in to say that even in England, although there is what is called a reasonable, although it is still, because of the problems there are, still reasonable chastisement is acceptable within the law. But actually, if you are taken to courts regarding the child has been hit, it will be even if the parents are not taken to courts, the social services will still take a very dim view regarding a parents who chastise the child physically. And that is the situation. And I personally think that actually, my personal view is actually that's a better solution to Sri Lanka is not to ban it totally, but to actually not to bring in a very drastic legislation, but to change the attitude of the society regarding the physical punishment. And that relates to what the Sati said as well. The question of punishment, we have to make a difference between the punishment is there has always been a punishment, right? But the punishment will not disappear. But the question is, again, it is very important in the Sri Lankan context. What we have discussed is what is called a dandane, right? The way the people they apply dandane within the Sri Lankan society was very different, especially to children. And actually, that brings me, although I'm not actually saying it as a joke, but because right now I'm in Taiwan, cycling in Taiwan, I wanted to write to Ruan at the beginning to say that there's a one problem of cycling in Taiwan, and that is because everybody follows rules here. It's an absolute problem to me. Because usually the cyclists don't follow the road rules. I mean, anyone who lives in England, for example, I was telling the people that in Sri Lanka rule is, the green go, amber you may go, and red you can still go but faster. Right? That's the Sri Lankan traffic rules. But in England, actually, has a better one to say that actually most cyclists will argue that I think if it is safe, you can go. right? So then because actually if you just say that because it is green I can go, I won't go if it is not safe. But the Americans has a even better, the Americans may say that you can go, but insurance won't cover you. Right. So when I was cycling in America, so I asked them, I was joking with them regarding crossing the red line and cycling on the other side of the road. They said, yes, Lalit, you can do that, but insurance won't cover you. It is actually that the society's attitude towards the law is a very interesting one. So I asked some people in Taiwan, where does it come from? And they said it is probably from Japan, because this is not Chinese, because these are part of the Japanese culture. Because even for the underground, they will even for the underground, there's a little line on the platform where to queue in Taiwan, and I find it absolutely amazing, and it's finding it very difficult. Okay. Okay.
That's quite true. We are sort of planning a trip to Japan, and my daughter and her husband said, in Japan we prepared to be in a queue to get into a restaurant for probably, if it's a good restaurant, a couple of hours, and nobody moans or shouts or try to queue jump. They're just happily doing whatever they are doing on the internet or whatever, but queue up without any fuss. So I think the attitude change which is required, not the laws. The laws are required, but it's mostly the attitude change. I mean, for that matter, in Sri Lanka particularly, all the minor problems are sorted out in schools, starting with schools, by a physical fight. So in children's minds, that is the done thing. Even in adult world, how much of physical violence we see in Sri Lanka? So horek ආවන මුලින්ම කන්නට හොඳම ගහන එකනේ. දැන් කාර් එකක් හැප්පුණා නම් බලපිටියේ මේ අපේ ලලිත්නේ මුලින්ම ගිහිල්ලා ගහන්නේ උට. මම ඊළඟට කියන්නේ. මට ඉතින් බලපිටියේ කාර් එකක් හැප්පුණා ඉවරයිනේ. කාගේ වැරද්දද කියලා බලන්නේ නැහැ නේ. කුටි කාලා තමයි නතර වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඕක තමයි ප්‍රශ්නේ. Anyway, I think we have come almost to the end now. Are there any burning questions? Let's probably wind down.
Just a comment, Ruwan.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether I understood Lalit correctly. In terms of UK's stand on physical punishment in schools, it is illegal. It is illegal. The only difficulty they face, particularly the teachers, is in dealing with special needs children. But that is not with regards to physical punishment, it's with regards to restrainment. And they are all trained to do that. And they are expected to exercise vigilance and caution in controlling those children. But physical punishment is not at all sanctioned by the law.
I think
Ruwan, I need to make a very, very important comment because from what Sati said, I think Sati made a very, very important point. Sati, is that in England, physical chastisement is not legal. It is actually the reasonable chastisement. Is a defense. Is a possible defense. So it is actually illegal, but parents could use it as a defense, like adults will use the self defense in physical assault in the same way. With regard to physical restraint, Sati, although physical restraint is being used in schools, it is very much frowned upon. And actually, there is so much of pressure from not a pressure. It is very well. It is usually considered a good practice if the school does not use physical restraint. I know that very well because I was a chairman of I was a chairperson of a school governance body with regard to in a pupil referral unit which looks after children with special needs, and we took great measures to stop to the reduce the physical restraining in the schools. Thank you. I think it is nearly 11 o'clock. I need to cycle. I need to start cycling again tomorrow morning. So I need to sleep.
Yeah, I'll just give one sort of anecdote which you have already heard through the SLLS. I was doing safeguarding on call, and then this family of mother, father, and a young child, about 10-year-old, was brought to us by the police. The allegation was the mother hit the child in front of a police officer. So I asked, what's the history of this? So the police officer told me that the father of this child was on bail and he couldn't be contacted. So policemen got to know that he's at home. So 2 policemen went to arrest him, and they sort of pressed the bell. Mother opened the door, and the policeman said, "Is your husband at home?" Mother denied entirely and said, "No, I haven't seen him for the past year. I don't know where he is." And this 10-year-old came behind and said, "Oh, Daddy's hiding in the attic." And then just, mother gave him a good slap on the head, and the police arrested both the mother and the father. Father for dumping bail, mother for hitting the child, and they ended up in safeguarding. So what I'm trying to say is, and I had another instance where a child was trying to jump across the road, and the mother just, in panic, get hold of the child to stop him from meeting with an accident and gave a smack, and she was arrested and brought to us. So to avoid that kind of minor scenarios, there is this defense of reasonable chastisement. Not that it's promoted here, but in that kind of situations, we all agree that, okay, we don't need to take it any further. Anyway, let's stop this because we have now overrun. Thank you very much, Ajith, for that wonderful enlightenment into the Grade 5 scholarship. And thank you, Lalit, for arranging that. And as usual, this is the time when we all need to put our videos up so that we could appreciate all our speakers. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I shall end this session now. Thank you.